You know who Chris Rock is, right?
Yeah.
The victim of Will Smith's
slap.
Yeah. The wildest thing just happened. I noticed this dude look up. He comes over and starts talking to me. It's Chris Rock. Chris Rock.
Relationships
He had
are
some
tough.
pretty funny lines. He tried to compare it to a husband beating up his wife. He was like, yeah, but who's the tougher one? I sit down, sees this shirt, and he's like,
So you guys spent like 40 minutes talking about this?
He pulled up his chair and sat at my table.
Wow. He wasn't like, oh, you're Calvin Wayman from Cultured Boy? Is that you?
Exactly. He was like, oh, yeah, I think I heard about you on Joe Rogan's podcast. Jerry Seinfeld, I think, mentioned you at some point as well. I'm an ex-cult fundamentalist Mormon kid. Chris Rock. It's the wildest thing. It was really interesting, though, because what it showed me, no matter where you are in culture, you're not always right.
You're dissing on Chris Rock's opinion? You're like, he's
not
wrong.
all the way.
I want to know his takes. Like, what were his takes?
His takes were bada bing, bada boom. Okay. Will you say something?
Hello? Testing?
Hi, Misfits. That's kind of loud in my end.
That's loud as hell. Oh my God, that was so loud.
It's so loud. I'm getting used to this stuff. I'm Calvin, a once faithful fundamentalist Mormon boy turned certifiably celestially unhinged. You like that?
Yeah.
A true latter-day darling.
This is a lot now.
I escaped a cult so you don't have to. My trauma is your entertainment and also my healing. Win-win. Welcome to Cultured Boy, where cults, culture, and curiosity collide. I prophesy in the name of Joseph Smith. That's the founder of Mormonism. I'm going to prophesy.
Prophesize.
I'm going to prophesy.
What does that mean?
It means you know the future. You're going to say something.
Okay.
So I'm about to. So I prophesy in the name of Joseph Smith himself that today's episode is going to be downright divine. Also, I did have a revelation. And by the way, I'm reading off my notes. That's why I'm looking at my laptop. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. That's something that Joseph Smith would say. And by hosts, I mean the people running YouTube. If ye like, subscribe, and comment below, thou shalt help spread the good works. Together, we can convert other lost souls to this community of misfits, and together, we might be able to save the world. Thank you for subscribing. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, bro. You just got back in town. There's something I've been dying to tell you. Okay, you were commenting on this shirt. The wildest thing just happened. I swear, I've said this to you already before, that the more I lean into the things that I care about, the craziest shit happens. You and I met because I was just leaning in and doing the things I want to do, and now I took your apartment over. There's that whole story on a different episode, but I get back from the Middle East. I'm editing this film, Hearts Unknown. I walk into a coffee shop, and I notice this dude look up to me, and he comes over and starts talking to me. It's Chris Rock.
You're wearing the shirt?
I'm wearing the shirt. Chris Rock.
Which coffee shop?
I'm not going to say.
You can't disclose this.
I can't say.
I think I know which one it is.
It was Chris fucking Rock. And he came over, and we talked for 30 to 40 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chris Rock.
You know who Chris Rock is, right?
Yeah.
The guy
victim of Will Smith slap.
Yeah. Like, it's the wildest thing. Like, it wasn't until after I had that interaction where I'm zooming out and I'm like, I'm an ex-cult fundamentalist Mormon kid. And Chris Rock just came up and talked to me.
So he comes up to you while you're ordering coffee, or what? He looks at
I sit down after ordering my coffee, and he sees this shirt. And he's like,
he comes up to you.
He's like confused, and he was like, "What does the shirt mean?" And I told him that I was just like,
but you clocked it immediately. You're like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. I totally knew who it was.
Yeah.
But after like 5 seconds, it didn't matter who he was.
Sure, it was just
a dude. I told him how I went to see.
He wasn't like, "Oh, you're Calvin Wayman from Cultured Boy." Is that you?
Exactly. He was like, "Oh yeah, I think I heard about you on Joe Rogan's podcast." Jerry Seinfeld, I think, mentioned you at some point as well. By the way, you're about to eat something from the Middle East, which is
you brought this back.
Well,
you bought it at a store that's from the Middle East.
I bought it from the store,
imported from the Middle East.
I got it because they're all over the Middle East. But no, so what did he talk about? He very much disagreed with my shirt at first.
It says one solution. Wait, one solution team.
Well, it's Israel-Palestine, and he was like, "Why would you put both of those things together?"
Okay.
and I told him that I didn't understand very much about the conflict, and so I just got back from there.
You got the shirt in over there.
I made it. I made
Okay.
this. So after I got back, I'm in the middle of editing Hearts Unknown, this documentary. I was like, what's the thesis? And this is sort of my thesis in a way where I'm like, one solution, team human. Like, there's still so much I don't know about this conflict, and we're going to unpack more throughout this episode. But he is very much pro-Palestine.
Yeah, I'd expect so.
He had some pretty funny lines. He was like, he tried to compare it to a husband beating up his wife. And he says, I was like, there's pain on both sides. And he was like, yeah, but who's the tougher one?
So you guys spent 40 minutes talking about this.
He pulled up his chair and sat at my table.
Did you draw a little crowd happen?
No, the
The
only
moderator
thing,
appeared.
The only thing is the barista after was like, I didn't know you guys knew each other.
It's like, that's my boy. That's my boy Chris.
And I was like, that was the first time I've talked to him in my entire life. I was like, what? No way. He's like, the barista was like, we were talking like, oh, because I go in there all the time. Like, oh, they must know each other. It was really interesting though, because what it showed me is no matter where you are in culture, A, you have an opinion. B, you're not always right. Like, I'm not just
you're dissing on Chris Rock's opinion. You're like, he's
not
wrong.
all the way. Not all the way. There was
I
just
get it.
obviously some things that he didn't know. And in fact, there was so many things I didn't know until I was there in Israel. One of the things I didn't know is how many viewpoints there are. There are so many different viewpoints of the conflict just within Israel. On the YouTube video right now, there are Israelis fighting in the comments saying, this is when we got the land. This is why we got the land. Others are saying...
I'm actually curious, like, are the majority of people that you talk to there, because you're in Israel, pro-Israel? Like...
In Israel?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the minority was, like, Free Palestine.
Yeah.
If any.
In fact, that's actually what surprised me. There was this guy, and he's getting roasted by a lot of other Israelis right now.
The guy in the
my
movie.
Video, yeah, because he was very much pro-Palestine. He was very much pro. We are not doing good things in the West Bank. I forgot to finish the line of what Chris Rock said. See if I can remember it. He was something like,
yeah, I want to know his takes. Like, what were his takes?
His takes were, if there's a fight happening between a husband and a wife, the way you end the fight is the guy stops fighting.
Okay.
Basically saying the guy's way tougher than the woman. And so he's like, if you... I don't know if that's a good analogy.
I don't know if this is a good analogy.
That's what he said. He was like, if you want to end the conflict, then you just need to stop fighting. And then I was coming back to him and I was like, bro, I literally just heard that exact same argument in reverse in Israel. There were people that I talked to that were Israelis and it was like, this is the difference between us and Hamas and who they're fighting against. Israel, a lot of Israelis say they don't want to be fighting, but if they stopped fighting, if they put their weapons down, then their whole country would be destroyed.
That's valid. It's like if the husband were to stop hitting the wife would just pick up a cleaver and like bring it to the carotid artery.
Yeah, he also had I think where he was coming from too, growing up a black man, a minority in America, he had a soft spot of anybody that has been fucked on. Because he brought up a lot of conversation about minorities in America. And he brought up a lot around how we destroyed the Native American culture. And he's not wrong. I didn't know anything what he was telling me, honestly. And so he gave me a book recommendation off of his phone. I was going to show you it on my phone because I have a picture of Chris Rock's hands. Because he was like, here's the book. You need to read this book. It's called Midnight Summer Moon or something.
Did you get a picture with him?
I didn't get a picture with him, but just of his hand. No, because that's the thing. I didn't want to. Like, there was a piece
It would have been too much, yeah.
There was a piece of me that wanted to record the conversation that...
Then he wouldn't have talked to you like that.
Yeah.
As candidly.
but exactly. We were talking about something very personal and
And controversial.
controversial. I didn't want to have any gotcha moments. The other thing too is I'm like, I'm sharing it with you here, but the best part was talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like usually when you're getting a picture with a celebrity or something, you're going to show it to your Instagram and be like, look who I met and stuff like that. But the best part wasn't that. The best part was like talking to him. Anyway, I just thought it would be a pretty wild thing.
Well, what's funny is that if you had just taken that picture and posted it on your Instagram, most people that post pictures of celebrities that they're with do so in passing. They see them at the coffee shop, like, "Hey, Chris, can I take a picture with you?" Clink, and then they leave. You didn't get a picture, but you had like an actual like material interaction with him, as opposed to everybody's like passerby with him, or like look at him kind of like a zoo animal. Also, he approached you, which is different as well. It's not like you went out to him and was like, "Oh my God, I'm a huge fan. Like, can I get a picture with you?"
It's super weird, man. Like it's one of those things where afterwards, zooming out, I'm like, oh, that just happened. And I like that. Like I like that. Again, I'm a fundamentalist Mormon kid that just a few years ago basically was living in a cult. And not only am I living here, but I'm just following my own curiosities because I started to think about all the pieces that had to line up for that interaction to happen. First of all, I had to do shit that scared the hell out of me, leave the cult. I had to do things that I really wanted to do, like live in New York. I had to do something that mattered to my heart, like go to the Middle East to understand the conflict. I had to feel like I wanted to express myself enough to create this shirt. And then sit in that coffee shop and he sees it and immediately is like, what is that? And like comes up and starts talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of wild.
Mm.
And I feel like the more I'm doing these things, just doing my flow, like the more these things happen. This isn't as big of a deal because it wasn't as much of an interaction, but do you know who Mel Robbins is?
Yes. Is that
She's like
Tony
Mama.
Robinson's wife? No?
No, not Tony Robbins' wife. She's her own person. By the way, if you need
Wait, are they completely different people? Or
Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins? Tony Robbins is this
Mel
tall-
Robbins is a girl, is a female.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they were husband and wife.
No.
Oh, I'm tripping. Sorry, Mel Robbins. Sorry,
Mel
Mel.
Robbins is this shit.
I know she's like a self-improvement person as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the craziest
That's why I thought they were tagged together.
So you know I love Othership.
Yeah.
I go to Othership
And she's there.
and Mel Robbins is there. But this is going to be a whole episode of just like dropping
you're about to be like, oh,
this is going to be a whole episode of dropping
like,
celebrity.
guess what I saw this week? No, that's the whole episode. Week 1, I saw.
It's happening a lot, though. I'm not even joking. The thing that's crazy with Mel Robbins, actually, that's too droppy. I'll save it for another episode because.
Yeah,
no, fuck it. I want to say.
No, wait. Now you're putting her on blast. Like she's like.
No, you have to know this thing about Mel Robbins. It's so trippy. I bumped into her at Othership, and what does she say? Hey, Calvin, how's it going? This really now. Why does she know my name? Because I bumped into her
Before.
like 3 or 4 times.
There.
No, in different states.
What? Oh, at her events?
No, I've bumped into Mel Robbins at events, but not her events, 3 or 4 times in 3 or 4 different states.
Mm.
I bumped into her once in Southern California because I went to see this guy, Brendan Burchard, and that's where I met Mel Robbins for the first time. Then I go to some event in Columbus, Ohio, and she happened to speak there. I was living in Utah at the time, and I just go back home to Utah, and I go to this business breakfast with female founders in Utah, and Mel Robbins shows up to that too.
Mm.
Like, it's so weird.
So when you saw her, this time she remembered you.
Yeah, she was like, "Didn't you have a much bigger beard the last time I saw you?"
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, "I did, yeah." Yeah, she's like on tour. She said she just did a thing at Beacon Theater, which is
over here.
Yeah.
She's been around for a while.
She's been around for a while.
Okay.
She had something known as the 5-second rule, and now she came out with a new book called the Let Them Theory.
I think I heard about this. What's the 5-second rule?
5-second rule is...
I'm kind of fascinated about like self-improvement people and their little like their like theories about how to like do self-improvement like this.
I don't know if we talked about this. If you don't know this about me, I have a whole personal development past.
I don't remember. I remember you told me about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's. I
What
got
is it though? What's the
disillusioned.
5 second rule?
Do you ever wake up in the morning, you don't want to get out of bed?
You just count, is it the one where you count down from 5 and just do it?
Uh-huh.
I think I've told people about that, and some people are like, "Dude, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard about."
That's funny.
It's so funny. Just like, oh yeah, if you just
It's
want to do it, just count down from 5 and just do it.
it's basically just giving yourself a trick to do the thing, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know.
But I always think about that, and like, you know how people are selling these courses online?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are just selling workout courses, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine because people don't know how to work out. But people also sell like self-improvement or like character development, how to like grow your business.
Yeah.
And if people are like, hey, buy my whatever book for $99.99, and I open up the book and they're like, first rule, 5 second rule, and the rule is count down from 5, I would be like, dude, I just fucking burned my money on some bullshit.
Dude, personal development, Tony Robbins. I mean, that book right there, Fish Out of Water.
I know.
That's a personal development book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your rules? Do you have any rules? What
yeah.
are they called? What are the 5 second rule? The let them theory is like let them do this. I think I see videos online
Yeah.
like, oh, let them be like do this. Just like
Yeah.
it's all kind of just like focusing on yourself type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine's done is better than perfect.
Mm.
Become a member of the CIA.
What does that mean?
Consistent, imperfect action. Jordan Peterson, you were saying that you didn't realize how religious he was. What did you mean by that? Right before we were
No,
recording.
because he's like I remember when he got big in like 2017 or something on that video of him like confronting a student at the University of Toronto because of the like CR-17 bill. Remember that? It was a whole thing with like he was like kind of like, oh, I'm not gonna call you by your desired pronoun, and then yeah, I thought he was like he's like a sociologist or what is he? Like
Yeah.
he's a doctor of sorts, whatever, highly educated, something like this, and then
It's like he's a psychologist.
psychologist. Sorry, yeah, he has a clinical practice or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then he basically gets like exiled from school, right? From the school that he was teaching at, and then he becomes even bigger and more influential than he was at the school through that
Mm-hmm.
exile. And now he's a public speaker. He's written like a ton of books, but
He just got roasted on Jubilee.
You're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
Don't be a smartass.
Either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing. Right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
like did he perform pretty badly?
Yeah, he just did an episode called like something.
Yeah, like
Jordan
one
Peterson.
Christian versus 20 atheists or something, right? And I was like, I didn't know. Like a lot of people are religious, but it's like he seems to have it as like one of the forefronts of his identity. Now, at least, more recently, which I didn't know of before.
Well, there's also different views on that because some people have been trying to get him to identify what he actually is, and he doesn't say it directly, and it's quite annoying. I don't look at anybody wholesale. Like there's some things that are really good and some things that I struggle with. One of the things that I really admire Jordan Peterson for is his ability to think deeply about something that seems so mundane. I watched a talk of him once talking about what identity is and how it is. And I was thinking this is going to be a 2 to 3 minute definition. And he basically talked for like an hour on how it is part of every aspect of your being. And
Yeah.
it is so part and parcel of you that you can't separate it from anything that you do. Somebody could get an idea of what your identity is if they saw a sentence that you wrote. There's just, and that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense that it's just so connected to you. But the thing that bothers me about what I'm seeing him do is it's almost like he's trying to capture the religious audience, but he's not saying what he really thinks. People try to say, do you believe in God? Well, what do you mean by God?
Yeah, he does that
What
a
do you
lot.
mean by belief?
What do you mean by you?
Yeah,
What do you
what
mean
do
by
you mean?
believe? What do you mean by in?
Yeah, and if you're going to do that, then he couldn't have any strong opinions either, because if he's going to have an opinion about atheists and what they're getting wrong, what do you mean by atheists? Like, what do you mean? Because the thing I recognize with a lot of atheists is really they don't want to believe in bullshit.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to believe in bullshit either.
Yeah. Yeah, his new book is because I think I was watching his newest episode on Rogan or something, and he's like, he goes deep into like basically the whole episode was like about like he talks about a lot of like the Old Testament, the parables, and then he relates it to how it's like an analogy or a message for you how to live your own life.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't seem very preachy about it, but anytime and people talk about religion, like, and then talk about the Bible, verses in the Bible, Cain and Abel, whatever, it's stories from, and as for people to use as like a metaphor for how to live their own life.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed preachy, but then I'm like, it's like looking at two sides of his coin, which is like, one, he's very educated, right? He's like a psychologist, but he's also very, very religious. And those teams, sometimes those things contrast with one another. You think about someone who's really ultra religious, and sometimes people say, oh, they don't believe in science, or they're like anti-science or whatever. But he's like kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Because he can articulate it well. Like sometimes.
He's like a Charlie Kirk.
Even more so, because people look at Charlie Kirk and he's like, this guy's a high school dropout or whatever he was. Like, he never even attended college. I would say he's pretty well spoken. I mean, that his whole thing is doing debates on college campuses, right? But like Jordan Peterson has a PhD. I think he's a doctor, right? He's a psychologist. So he's like, he is science, but then on the other hand, he's also believes in God.
Yeah.
To a pretty like deep level.
The truth is, though, that isn't as rare as you might
No, it's
think.
not. But I'm saying there's a lot of religious doctors, but they're not like writing books called We Who Wrestle with God, and they're not like, a lot of them don't even know all of the stories in the Bible, right? Like Jordan Peterson, it seems like, has studied the Bible to like the nth degree, like pretty deeply. He's what is it called? Proselytizing?
He
seems like it. I'm like, what's going on here?
He's not proselytizing in the same way that Charlie Kirk is proselytizing. There was an episode that Jordan Peterson did with George Janko. Do you know who George Janko is?
Yeah, I do.
And George Janko is this super Christian dude. And
also podcast guy, right?
yeah, he has a podcast. And he made George look like a buffoon because you just see the difference in understanding of the way they view religion. The thing with him, it's hard for me to pin down with Jordan Peterson because there's some things that are obviously flawed in my view, bringing trying to religiousize everything, but there's some merit to what he does with stories, because he talks about biblical stories. There's a reason they've lasted, and the reason they've lasted is there is this life lesson in it that has passed the test of time. For example, he talks about, like, this is in so many stories, like, aim high. Like, that's true, because I've tested that in my own life. Like, whatever you want to do in your life, aim for something. There's a reason there's these other quotes in personal development or Stoic philosophy. If you don't know what port you sail, no wind is favorable. If you don't know where you're going, then how do you know how to adjust? The other thing Jordan Peterson talks about that I really think there's something true to it, maybe it's just because I like living my life this way, and that is live with adventure. Don't try to keep things safe. And if you combine those two things, like if you aim for something, you're going to have adventure. I mean, I'm doing it right now with Cultured Boy. I haven't said this out loud, and I probably should, because you've sort of asked me, like, are you running out of money yet? So
take adventure to the next level.
I totally am. So Yeah, just to share it with the audience, I've been without income since January, and as of this recording, we're entering June.
Half a year.
Holy shit!
Mm.
I've been half a year without any income. That's crazy. And I'm living in the most expensive.
City in the world.
Yeah,
On the most expensive island in the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if I should be more scared than I am.
I wonder that too. Your confidence is admirable.
Same
But I
here.
don't know. Sometimes it's like, and I don't know how you're feeling deep down.
Terrified.
But terrified, yeah, exactly. But sometimes, I mean, even I have income, and sometimes I get terrified too. Like everyone gets a little terrified. But
Yeah.
I think, like I've said, like if you need anything, there's a little safety net, like an insurance policy.
Yeah.
But that hopefully, like this thing will it'll drive you more.
That's what I'm hoping it does. I think it can bring focus, and I think it does for the most part. I think I would not have created an entire documentary, which that'll be the next segment. I just want to, for people that haven't seen Hearts Unknown, I want to touch on that because you haven't seen it yet. So if you have any questions on like process or whatever, we'll get into that. I wouldn't have created Hearts Unknown if I didn't have that pressure. Because it was like, no, I need to finish this project. It was just so big of a project. I would have never done it.
Wait, I want to go back to the Chris Rock thing.
Okay.
Like, what was his, besides like husband, wife, what else did he say? I feel like I've heard the arguments, and it's like you see what's going on, and obviously why they feel the way they do. But then when I hear about like the Israel side is like, okay, I mean, I don't know, it depends how far you go back, but like on October 7th, they got punched first. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, like when the U.S. when New York got hit with like the 9/11, okay, then they attacked, then they invaded the Middle East. It kind of happens. That's like how all wars start. Like someone's punches first, and there's usually a larger response.
Yeah, and that's happening. That's essentially it, more or less. Because the only thing I was trying to do, and it's probably what made the conversation last as long as it did, is I was trying to give examples like that. Because he was like, all you got to do is put the weapons down if you're Israel. And I was like, I've heard the exact opposite of that. And he's like, well, it's kind of like a husband and wife fighting. The husband's tougher and stronger than a woman. I was like, what if the woman has a frying pan and she's going to kill you? And the other thing, too, is just to add on his side, he's also not wrong.
Of course.
In a lot of ways. Because we live in the age of cell phones. And I've actually done a little bit more digging since the conversation with him. I'm not totally shocked for why people think the way they think regarding this. I mean, let's see if I can let's watch this with Theo Vaughn, because he's getting a lot of shit.
Oh, is it one of his monologues?
Yeah, it's just a monologue.
Okay.
The video is like, what have we become?
What do you think of Gabor Mate? Is that how you pronounce his name? I've been seeing a lot of his stuff too.
Yeah. So this guy is Jewish, and he has a lot of things to say against his country.
Yeah. Okay. I've never seen his takes on the war.
He's fascinating to me, because I would venture to guess that a lot of people do not like, how do you say his name?
I don't know. Gabor Mate?
Yeah.
Mate?
Yeah. Because I watched a video of his pretty recently. In fact, guess who sent it to me? A Palestinian friend.
Okay.
So if a Palestinian's giving you a video on a Jewish person, the thing I like about him is he really gets into the trauma and how it just feeds on itself. But let's watch this quick video of Theo, because he's getting a lot of heat for it, and let's see if it's warranted. Like, the big question is Theo Vaughn an anti-Semite? Let's see.
I wanted to say something. There's been something that's just been kind of on my heart, and so I feel like I should bring it up. There is, we've had people on the podcast in the past to talk about it. And there's a conflict that's been happening in the Middle East. People know about it, between Israel and Palestine and some of the areas over there, the Gaza area they talk about. And And I just think it feels to me, I don't know if it feels to me like it's a genocide that's happening while we're alive here in front of our lives.
He's like bouncing. Look, he's kind of nervous as he's saying it. It's interesting.
And I don't, sometimes I feel like I should say something. I'm not a geologist or geographer or anything like that, so I don't know a lot of some of it I do know though. Like I know the basics of the issues over there, but for me it's just like how I feel like you see all these photos of people.
Isn't that insane?
Just children, women, people, body parts, just people like putting their kids back together. And I just can't believe that we're watching that and that more isn't said about it. And so I'm not saying anyone else needs to say anything, but
I feel like a ton is said about it.
Is Theo Von an anti-Semite?
No.
What do you mean by you think a lot is said about it?
Like, there's how many major conflicts are going on right now? Like the Russia-Ukraine one, Gaza. I think there's a civil war in Syria, which I don't think a lot of people know about. I only found out or was like informed about it recently. And like there's some sort of genocide happening in Myanmar or something, like some conflict in Myanmar. I would say the Gaza one gets the most headlines, the most protests, the most like social media posts, and the most like support from at least the US.
Do you think it shouldn't?
No, I don't think it. I think it should, but I mean, I don't know, because like the Ukraine thing is big. Like all of these people, there's the people dying in all of these conflicts. To say that one of them is more important than the other is, I would say it's unfair to the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like which one's more valuable, a Syrian life or a Burmese life or like a Ukrainian life? They're all equal. I mean, effectively they're all equal, but I'm like, but yeah, I know what he's saying. Like, I don't know how people, like the video's not done, but I don't know how you can construe this and say it's anti-Semitic. He's just saying like, stating what's going on. Like there's some crazy shit going on in Palestine. Like his analogy of like, you're seeing pictures and videos of like kids' limbs or like people's limbs, like, and people have to put those limbs back together like Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah.
And you're like, that is a crazy thing to do, but it's not like an anti-Semitic thing to say.
Yeah. It gets tricky because once you start comparing pain, I actually was just on somebody's Instagram stories at Washington Square Park a few days ago. They did a big thing on philosophy, and they ended up talking about Israel-Palestine. And there's a few things I'll say to what you just said. You're right. There's so much shit happening around the world. Like the thing that I really appreciated going to Israel, and my friend Sagi, who was in the film, an Israeli friend, he called it. He was like, Calvin, you're going to come here, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to leave feeling like you're even more confused than when you came. And in a way, that's true, meaning there are so many layers to this. There's so much genuine suffering in Israel, and people don't know that. There are people that have been, not only were they traumatized a couple generations ago during the Holocaust, they're still traumatized. They're living with a target on their back. The only problem, though, is if those traumatized people are then inflicting their trauma on someone else. Again, there's a couple things to look at here, because you could also say, well, why are they getting headlines? I don't even know if we could play that game, but it's not very hard for me to think why that might be. Number one, we are very much involved in the Israel-Palestine conflict. So it's already in our eyesight on the Israel side. So I think that's why people are caring about it. There's also just so many young kids that are involved in it. I don't know how I think about it yet.
I think the big one is actually two things. Like probably there's a lot of Jews in the U.S. right? So that, and then the U.S. support for Israel is like just very, very strong. I would say like the Israel lobby is probably the most powerful lobby in the U.S. Like if Democrats and Republicans can agree on anything, it's like their support for Israel. Like they're divided, the left and right are divided over a lot of things, but like under Biden, blank check to Israel, all this money, all this like military equipment, and under Trump is the same thing. But I think like a lot of the people on the left, the university students, like people protesting at Columbia, people online are like, they see videos of stuff that happens in Gaza and they're like, oh shit, how can our government, my taxpayer money, go towards funding this?
Yeah.
And then, but the other side is that the Jewish lobby in America is strong because like there's a lot of powerful Jews in America. The Jewish population in America is big as well. So there's both sides of the coin here. Whereas like the Syrian conflict, like it kind of flies under the radar relatively to like the Ukraine thing and the Gaza, because there's not as many Syrians here. People just don't know about it. Like the U.S. is less involved in that. Same with the Burmese thing.
Yeah, because I know who probably really cares about the Syrian conflict are Syrians.
Right.
And it's just so weird. Like, just to give some cult context to this, it's wild to recognize how we all live in a bubble of some kind. It's actually kind of disheartening too, from the outside looking in, because I've been trying to get a closer understanding of what's actually going on with Israel-Palestine, and it is so fucking difficult. Because no matter who you talk to, because again, you can talk to a Chris Rock, and he has a very strong view against Israel, but then you talk to this, what's his name again, who was on Joe Rogan?
Jordan Peterson?
No.
Douglas Murray.
Douglas Murray. Yeah.
What does Jordan Peterson say about this? He hasn't said anything.
I think Jordan Peterson is very pro-Israel.
I actually think that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff. He's very pro-Israel. But this is where I think it gets so dangerous. We can't just look at this as like a sports team, that if you're on one side, it's all good, and if you're on the other side, it's all bad. We label people and things, and it makes it super easy to then throw rocks at it. If you call somebody, I don't know, what's the word? I mean, terrorist is a big one. There's really terrorists in Gaza, Hamas, but is a 6-year-old girl a terrorist?
Yeah, I don't know how deep, like, sometimes you don't have to know the entire history of the Middle East to form an educated opinion on what's happening over there, right? Like, there's people that are experts in, like, the Jewish nation, that area, Jerusalem, Gaza, the West Bank, how those got created, the treaty in 1949, how those, like, the lines were divided arbitrarily, and then people were shoved on one side, and it was, like, poorly managed. And then you go back hundreds, like, more than 100 years ago to, like, and then thousands of years ago to like the biblical implications of that area. And you're like, okay, you could like overanalyze that to the nth degree, and you still might be like, okay, I see both sides. Or you could just be like, okay, I understand, like.
But what does that do with the people that are living there now? Like the kids that are being
Yeah,
killed?
but it's like, you don't have to go to that deep in order to get to the same conclusion that you would otherwise just by seeing what's going on today, right? You understand that Israel's fighting back because they got attacked. And then you understand why people are frustrated with Israel, because innocent women, children are just getting blown up every day, right?
Yeah, and there's so many. Okay, I want to make a comment on the history thing, because I agree with you so much.
I'm being like Switzerland right now, though. But like most people don't like that people are neutral about this, because people are like, you have to choose a side.
I think I think there's power in neutrality, and that doesn't mean you're passive. Neutrality means you're willing to keep your mind open. And in fact, if you're not willing to be neutral, that's how you fall into a cult. The only way you're going to be able to talk yourself out of becoming too culty in your thinking is a little bit of neutrality. Here's my thing with history. I think history is super important. The history of how we got here. But it's if that's the purpose. If the purpose is you're trying to find out how did we get here so that we can learn from it. But I'm not seeing history used that way. Want to know how I'm seeing it used? People justifying what they're doing, people justifying why they're there, people justifying on all sides. I'm seeing it on the Palestinian side where they're like, we were already here and it's being taken away. And if that's true, which it sounds like it is, I mean, what would you do if somebody kicked you out of your property? But I'm also hearing it on the Israel side. It's like, look, we were here ancestrally, blah, blah, blah. And so I feel like history, as somebody on the outside looking in, and I would say this on both sides, and maybe people are going to get mad because we're not just taking a side. I'm gonna actively not take a side on both of them. They're using history just as a means to their end, as a justification for what they want. So my whole thing is, why don't we just be honest and say what we want and work it out that way? The truth is, a lot of I'm seeing this, and it's really bothering me because my film Hearts Unknown gives way more Israeli perspective because that's who I ended up talking to.
You also were in Israel.
I was in Israel. I tried to get into the West Bank and I failed. I still want to go back and spend some time in the West Bank. But I have been watching some talks of Netanyahu, and it is eerie to me as somebody that grew up in a cult, because I see him say something that I know is just to form some sort of narrative.
He's also, I don't know, like, what percent of Israelis support what's going on? Is it quite high? Like the war itself?
Well, that's a very loaded question.
Well, I'm saying, like,
this is what I think a lot of Israelis, and if you're an Israeli, this is one thing you can comment or give in the comments to see if I'm right, because this is my understanding though. If there's one thing that all of Israelis can agree on, it's getting the hostages home.
Right. They're still hostages as well.
Yeah, that's actually the big thing. Right. They're wanting to get their family back. But the thing that really surprised me going over there as well is how many Israelis do not like Netanyahu.
Yeah, remember your friend downstairs?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, people blame Netanyahu as well for what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first time I'd heard that, but since then I've heard that sentiment much more. As in Israelis like disliking their leader. I don't really know for what reason. Is it his response, or like for letting it happen in the first place, or I don't really know what the reason is.
He's also in some global body is being tried for
war crimes,
and so they say that he's prolonging this so that he stays in power. He's trying to.
Has he been in power for a while now?
I think so, and he's also trying to just keep a hold of power. But I want to finish up my point with him, because I'm noticing this. One of the things that I think is the most dangerous things anybody can do is speaking for another human being. I can't speak for you. You can't speak for me. If you want to understand what I think and feel, you have to ask me what I think and feel. You can't just, and if we're in a fight, it's so easy to then overreact and say everything that I'm doing is with evil and ill intent. So how does this tie to Netanyahu? Obviously, we see people in America that are protesting and everything else that they want human lives in Gaza to not be destroyed. And so what's a line they use? Free Palestine. But I was just watching Netanyahu, and he basically told his people that free Palestine equates to Jews suck and we want the terrorists to win. That's, to me, irresponsible as fuck. Because even if you feel that way, say that that's what you're feeling. Say, when I hear this, I feel like this is what you're saying. But he didn't say that. He basically made it feel like that anybody that protests are anti-Semitic and are for the terrorists. That's not fucking true. And so now we start arguing with each other, saying, I don't know. There's just this. I can't even put my finger on it yet. But I'm seeing some people. Now, there's true anti-Semitism in the world. I see it. where people are just like, Jews control the world and they're evil. And it's wild because I know a lot of Jewish people here in New York and over in Israel. And I'm like, hey, do you guys have the secret meetings? Can I get in? Because I want to
make it sunny tomorrow.
Yeah, they're regular people. Can you make it sunny tomorrow? They're regular people. But because there's the narrative that there's been a target on their back, I see people put the target on their back prematurely, on their own back. Netanyahu does it.
Yeah. Netanyahu's I mean, whoever is in Netanyahu's position is in a very, very tough place because there's no way you can please everybody, because I think a lot of people look at the protests and people see protests that say Free Palestine, and everyone's holding up the Palestinian flag and they're like, Free Palestine. And the inherent message there is, I wouldn't say an anti-Israeli one, but one that's saying we support the Palestinians in this war of, what's going on there. It's hard to like be nuanced about it. So like,
Yeah.
when you're Netanyahu and you have to address the people in a short amount of time, you have to say, fuck these protesters.
Yeah.
You have to say that to them, and then because you're basically fighting for the other cause that they're protesting against.
Yeah. It's so tricky because at the end of the day, I want what's good for all Israelis too, in like his entire country. I just don't see it helping him, because what you end up doing by saying stuff like that is you sort of embolden the suspicions that people are having. Like, I mean,
yeah, but people aren't angry at like what he's saying about it. I think people are just angry at like when they see pictures of what's happening in Gaza.
yeah. Do you know how many people have been killed?
I don't know the number.
50,000 minimum. That's bananas to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if those are probably undercounted as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've watched some videos, and it's crazy to me.
Well, do you know how many people died during the war on terrorism from 2001 to like?
It's probably ridiculous.
I think it's like 1 million.
That's insane.
It's insane.
And that's why it's so dangerous to me to just equate it, because Anthony, you have one fucking life. If you're dead, you're dead. And there's so many people that are just regular human beings that aren't ever going to have a chance. And it's just crazy to me. And I don't know how, I mean, you said it earlier where you were like, is a Syrian life any less than a Gazan life, an Israel life, an American life? And no, I mean, it's all the same to me. How can anybody say that my story or my past or my heritage is more important than yours? I just don't, the mass invalidation that people make is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because I see it happening where people throw shade at Israel, saying that they're just this evil group of people, and I don't think that that's helpful. But then I also see it being thrown the other way, where they're using their people as human shields. They don't care about their kids. It's like, oh, basically, so are you saying that it's bad for kids to die? Okay, I agree. So what do you say then when an army is killing kids?
Wait, so I want to ask, when you were in Jerusalem or when you were in Israel, was there curfew? Like what? Because it's like a war. I mean, that area is in war.
Yeah.
So like, what kind of like?
I don't think so.
So, but it was just normal life. Like you walked on the street and it was just normal.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
And that bothered a lot of people when they watched my film.
That is kind of odd because you go whatever 50 miles south and fucking people are getting their heads blown off.
That's right. I honestly don't know how to fully think about this, because I hung out with Israelis, some of them good friends, that I see that I know that they are good human beings. I also see their suffering. This is why I think you cannot equate pain. The example that I used in an interview that I just did at Washington Square Park is imagine we had a girl come up dirty, crying and everything because she lost her parents. You wouldn't say to that little girl, there's somebody in a different part of the country that they don't even have an arm today. Get to it. You know, you don't compare pain. I think you have to recognize pain for where it is. And there is pain that happens on the Israel side. And at the same time, you cannot ignore the fact that there genuinely are kids, teenagers, like, and I see this too on Twitter, and it hurts my heart, where a lot of Israelis that are not very socially adept or emotionally intelligent, where they're just making fun of these kids. Like, they're making fun, like they were making fun of these Palestinians that were sitting on a pile of rubble. Somebody was giving a brother a haircut or something. And they're like, these guys are so dumb. Like, don't they know that they should just do something else? Or it was just something rude. And I was like, I see a human being and I see resilience in this picture. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it generates just hate. Like, when you have stuff like this happen, there's just hate on both sides. And unfortunately, I think like that sentiment where these, I think I've seen a similar video where like it's Israeli soldiers making fun of, like, they're like, let's try to like kill as many Palestinians as we can today. That's what they're saying in a video.
That's so insane.
But people clip that. Unfortunately, I think that's probably the minority of soldiers in Israel. Like, that's not the overall sentiment of the country.
It's not.
But it gets clipped and used as fuel for the other side, and then the reverse happens as well. Like the Hamas clip where they're like, we got to kill all the Israelis, gets clipped and then gets like used as propaganda for soldiers or the people to get riled up and to support the war.
It definitely happens on both sides, where Hamas does something that it makes it easy for people that are on the pro-Israel side to say, look why we're fighting as aggressively as we're fighting. These guys are evil. These guys are not human. Once you make a group of people not human, it's so much easier to kill them.
Bro, let's talk about something a little more chirpy, huh? This is let's end on something more up.
What do you mean?
I'm looking at the medals in your wall, and you know what I got?
Medals?
You see these medals on your door?
Yeah.
And you know what I got thinking of? Like
What?
these crazy races that are going on
Races? What races?
in America, like ultra marathons.
Yeah.
There's one called like the Last Man Standing,
Yeah.
and it's like
I know what
4
it is.
miles every hour
Uh-huh.
until someone stops.
Yeah, I want to do that.
That is madness. Like, people are getting crazy these days.
Haven't I told you I've done 2 ultras?
I know you've done one. Yeah,
I've
I
done
know.
2. I want to do Last Man Standing.
Did you like the one that happened recently? It was like these 2 guys, like everyone else dropped out. There's 2 people left over 3 days. And then the final day, they were still going at it. Like, these guys are still going, these last 2 people. And it started raining, like torrential rain. And they basically had to stop. And they were like, let's split this money, the prize money this year, and we'll continue the race next year.
Whoa.
We'll continue it on next year.
That's bananas. How long did they go?
It's not like 70 something hours.
Wow. Holy shit.
I'm like, you guys are fucking out of your minds.
Yeah, because my last race was a 24-hour race. I didn't quite make the 24 hours.
You went to, like, you just bailed and then went to bed.
Yeah, because my goal was to beat my previous record, which was the previous I had done 50 miles, and I wanted to do a little bit more than 52. I wanted 2 full marathons in a day with no training. That was like the goal to myself. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, I signed up for a 24-hour race, and it's basically how far you can go in 24 hours.
What was the first place?
I have no idea.
Because I'm like, what if you threw Kipchoge there?
Huh?
You know Eliud Kipchoge? The world record holder for the marathon time?
Oh,
He has like a 2-hour marathon.
that's
time.
insane.
That's 26 miles in 2 hours.
That's so crazy.
And I'm like, over 24 hours, how many miles is this guy running?
This wouldn't have happened on this course. This course was...
It's like a trail, right?
Yeah, it was in
Yeah.
the mountains of Provo, Utah.
Okay, that's a little different. That's
Yeah.
trail running.
Yeah, and it was pretty trippy too because I did it in the dark. Almost all of it was in the dark.
Really?
Yeah.
How about during the day?
Well, it started at 7 p.m. in autumn.
Okay, so like, and then it's morning, 7 a.m. when it becomes light,
12
right?
hours. Yeah, but I mean, it probably didn't start getting light till like 9.
Oh, Jesus.
and it's already getting dark at 7.
Yeah.
It was so wild. I ran it for like 17 hours because I hit the goal and I was like, fuck it. I probably would do it again. And because I do want to see if I could actually stay on my feet, or at least on course, even if I'm not on my feet, but on course for 24 hours.
What is the history of these ultra marathons? Because it's so crazy. I remember there's something called like the Moab 250,
240.
240. And like, I think I saw a video of like David Goggins doing it. And David Goggins got like second place or something. And then someone was like, yeah, David Goggins didn't have a team with him. He was just doing it by himself. Like
That's crazy.
The first place guy had like some sort of team with him.
Yeah. Actually, isn't the winner like Courtney? Winner?
Yeah, DeWalt or something. The
Moab
woman.
240. Yeah, what's her name? Oh, so this guy Max. But there was this girl that I saw do it named Courtney. Courtney Dahlwater?
Yeah, her. She wears like basketball shorts.
Like she
She
kicked.
loves to eat like Skittles and candy.
It's insane. I don't even know. That is such a different.
It's like for me, I'm like, I don't even know if I would. Have you run a marathon before?
Yeah.
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 This is insane.
Yeah.
This is insane.
It's 240
Like,
is
fuck it, if you want to punish yourself, you're gonna go to a war zone and fight. Like, goddamn, like, why are you doing this kind of shit?
to see if you can. Did you see Tim Dillon?
I've been researching comedy, essentially, the way comedy is now.
Yes. I did a CNN interview for an hour. They said to me at CNN, they're like, we're editing the interview. I said, put the hour out. I sat there for an hour. And then she goes like this. She goes, I can't believe you'd show up. People have said that they can't come on here because Joe Rogan would get mad at them. I said, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Why would I care?
said, he doesn't care. He would never care. Just put out the interview.
I did. Yeah,
Tim
we'll
Dillon.
talk about that. It's a very funny interview.
He
She looked
totally
like she was on
destroyed.
heroin. She looked like she was asleep.
Honestly, I think this is probably a good thing to start coming in for landing with the Tim Dillon thing, because a lot of people are saying that Tim Dillon destroyed CNN.
Well, it was kind of she was kind of playing gotcha a little bit. I was so surprised actually because I had heard about the interview. Like Tim was talking about it, and then apparently he they would only put out whatever 6-minute like clips of it. Like they were gonna edit the hour down to like whatever, and then Tim was like, "Dude, put out the full interview."
And did you see what it did to their YouTube channel?
Yeah, blew it up, right?
Dude, I think CNN.
like,
this is my
roasting.
take. I think like people are roasting CNN. People are roasting her. She looks like Tim Dillon. I think just saved the legacy business model.
I don't know if he saved them. He put them on blast. Like it's just it further was like I was like why am I watching these people? Like this girl's like supposed to be an award-winning journalist, and not to shit on Elle Reeves. I'm sure she did some good work in the past, but this interview was not her best performance.
You have to check this out though. If you look at CNN's videos, 3,000 views, 44,000 views, huge views. These are huge. 33,000 views, 24,000 views, 74,000 views, 51,000 views, 29,000 views, 3,000 views. You look at the Tim Dillon.
Yeah, it's
And
like
by the
10
way-
million or something.
Don't stretch it too much.
Oh, 5?
No, it's
One.
It's 1 million, which is insane because it's way more than I should do the math on it though, because all of these like this 3,000 view, 29,000 views. How long is the video? 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So YouTube, the big metric is watch time.
Right.
It's why I like podcasting, because you get a lot of views, but it's what's the accumulation of watch time.
Sure.
So it not only has
More
not
views.
29,000 views, it has 1 million
And
views.
it's long, way long.
And it's an hour. So I know that they must have made bank on that episode. I think it was probably the first time somebody at CNN was like, oh, I think we understand podcasting now.
They'd be so dumb to realize like it's so late in the game.
Now, it's not too late.
They wouldn't have. I don't think they would even put that out. That made them look really bad.
I
I mean,
but-
every comment on that video is like, "This is why I don't watch CNN. This is why CNN's a joke."
Yeah, because and this is how I think it ties to Israel, Palestine, cultiness, religion, politics, bubbles. Because the things that she was saying is stuff that are in super left-leaning circles. There became a narrative that came up after the election that the entire election was created and won by this super right-wing podcast coalition, and that Joe Rogan was like the linchpin of all of it. And he was telling people who to have on, who not to have on. You need to go soon?
In a second, yeah.
Okay. But again, it's just wild to me. The reason she got so shit on is their bubble. Their bubble was on full display. Their bubble of why they say the things they say, the things they think. Like, they had no idea that there was a lot of left-leaning comedians. Andrew Schultz said it on his show, which I totally agree. Like, all the comedians are left-leaning. Like, almost all of them. Yes, there's a few that aren't. But if you're a comedian, the chances that you're left-leaning versus right is insane.
Yeah.
It's like way bigger. So it is kind of ironic in a way, though, if this actually did help CNN, even though it did.
I don't think
make
it didn't help them.
It definitely did.
It didn't help them. I don't.
Look at us. We're talking about CNN.
We're only talking about CNN because they got roasted.
Okay, but who's to say that roasting is bad?
The thing is, if people will if after this video, less people will go and take CNN seriously because of it. Because of the fact that so many people watched that interview, and if you look at the sentiment on the comments, it's very negative.
CNN already had that negativity. They did not get more.
Yeah.
This is if I was going to bet on anything, I would bet that you're going to start seeing CNN publishing more 1 hour long form content. Mm-hmm. And if they do, it's going to be because of what Tim Dillon did.
They already have podcasts, though.
Where? You look anywhere.
I guess not on their YouTube site, but they have on Spotify. There's like CNN. Like, this girl probably has a podcast.
But I think isn't it like a lot of quick clipped things? I think it's like just like
because
their
in
news station.
general, those still get more views than 1 hour long podcasts. This just went really viral. This specifically. Wait, if you go up, like Nathan Felder was on one of them. Like, he's wearing that hat. Go down a little bit. That one, the blue hat. I wonder what he said. I don't know.
Who's Nathan Felder?
You know Nathan For You or The Rehearsal? Have you heard of either of those two shows? He's like a comedian, but he makes like funny reality TV shows.
Okay.
But I don't know. What does the clip say? They're dumb? Nathan Felder has.
Fires back at FAA over HBO show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so just to start wrapping this up. I didn't get to use my accent I was going to use. You've never been?
The Jordan
Joe Rogan was making fun of.
No, the Douglas Murray one.
Yeah, he went on Joe Rogan, and then Joe
Did you
Rogan
watch that?
him.
Did you watch that?
Yeah, a little bit. I watched most of it, actually.
It is good. Dave Smith is smart. They're both. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know Douglas Murray before this. I don't really know what he does.
Yeah, well, I won't go into it too much just because we already talked so much Israel-Palestine in this episode. But there are things that he has a good point on when it comes to Dave Smith. Dave Smith is talking about some things that he needs to get closer to the situation to know. But at the same time, Douglas Murray has this air about him sometimes that he's just sort of putting people down. He's not actually educating, because that had nothing to do with the argument. Say, you've never been? You've never been. You didn't have the courtesy to go. Like, why are you talking about somebody's courtesy to go somewhere? Mm-hmm. It was a.
I mean, he's just trying to win an argument.
It was a put down, but
Yeah,
it was.
It was a bad one. I don't think it was.
It wasn't an argument, though. It was putting somebody down for. He wasn't saying your argument's horrible. He was basically saying it was like a status thing. Like the way he said it and the tone he said it in, it was trying to put Dave Smith down in status. And to me, if you have a strong argument, you don't need to use those tactics.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think his argument was very strong.
Oh, yeah? So basically what you're saying.
Well, the thing is, I think he just ran out of ammo.
Are you anti-Semitic? Is that what I'm hearing from you? Is that the way we're going to end this episode? Okay. Well, we didn't solve world peace today.
I thought we did.
We did? Okay.
I think we did.
The thing, if I'm going to put a stake in the ground, my stake in the ground is I don't think anybody should be speaking for other people, and I think that nobody gets to say what human life is more valuable than others. But if you haven't seen Hearts Unknown, so Hearts Unknown is released. I went to the Middle East and recorded a documentary from real people that are there, so you can go to heartsunknown.movie to check it out, or it'll be linked somewhere on the YouTube video. What do you have going on the rest of the day?
I'm gonna go climb,
Cool.
pick up the girlfriend.
Cool.
That's it.
I'm going to go on a date.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Everybody out here do it like me, just like me, like me. I'm one of a kind, I'm like a rare breed. A breath of fresh air, you can see me. People stand up just to greet me. Role model, kids wanna be me. Listen now, later you'll believe me. Got you under my spell, the whole thing was easy. I just come and wink my eye like a genie. Put my crown on, y'all little peasant can king me.